This is a relentless game, turning life's chaos into power. This is a relentless game, I've been out grinding 10,000 hours. This is a relentless game, always put my faith inside of God that won't ever stop. Turning life's chaos into power. This is a relentless game.
The relentless game, turning life's chaos into power. Got Coach Christian Seth Humphrey here. I was thinking back, and we've been working on a lot of different things inside the businesses, and I was asked a question on like the story that made me change. Because in 2014, I had built a business. I'd hired coaches that had started to help me facilitate, put things into play inside of business. And I remember like it was yesterday, I was walking into the house that I had at the time. And as I was stepping up the steps, I thought, and if I hit 500,000 in sales, there's no way that I couldn't be happy. And that was in 2014, the first part of 2014. And so I had set and this is the way we do things, is I'd set a goal that there didn't really make any sense. I already been in business like 8 years, and now I'm setting a goal of growing my business 43% more than it was the year before. And I put my head down. I did what I said I was going to do. I followed through. But in that process, I lost myself. I remember getting up on the stage and winning the awards that I wanted to win, getting the recognition from the franchise that I wanted, and getting off in the stage. And after winning these dumb awards, they were just glass. Like one of them was glass, and one of them was a 5-pound weight that had a number written on it of how much money I'd hit. And I remember thinking, like, I almost ruined my marriage. It was the heaviest I'd ever been. I was a one-dimensional douchebag and a hypocrite to my son, and all these things, and just to win these awards and hit this number in business. And I got off the stage and was just hollow. It was a time there I was. It was clear to me that something needed to change, and that's when it happened. These same coaches that I hired in business were making changes as well in their life, and I was watching their change, and it was something that I knew that they were investing in every area of life. The things that they were talking about, these guys used to go to the club and Vegas like every other weekend and spend thousands of dollars on bottles and these different things. And I was just watching these individuals change, and it just happened to be. And what I always think about is like God directed me towards these men because of money. I looked at I started following them because I wanted to make more money, and God had actually put them in my path, and He knew that He was dangling that money, that I would follow that, and that would be what woke me up, that would awaken me. And that's exactly what happened. Was I started following these guys. Next thing I know, they're starting to talk differently. They're starting to walk differently. They're starting to live differently, and they invited me in for a 3-day event to San Diego. And I went to the San Diego event, and they broke me open. It was one of these places where you had to be honest with each other. You had other guys that were around you that were struggling as well. You got to hear from other guys and their problems and their issues, and start to realize that you weren't alone, that you weren't the only crazy one, that there's other individuals that were struggling just as much as you. And leaving that event, it was clear to me, like, of all the mistakes that I had made in the past. And I remember sitting in the airport, heading back home, and I was shooting appreciation texts to family, and it was early in the morning on in San Diego, so it was a little bit later here in Oklahoma, and I reached out to my sister and shot her some love and appreciation, and got a message back to say, "Have you heard from mom?" And that message of "Have you heard from mom?" was to tell me that my mom was leaving my dad after like 35 years of marriage. And that was exactly what I needed at that moment. It was clear to me that God was showing me that if you continue to go down the path that you're going, this is the path, and you can see it clearly now. You can bust your butt and build a business, but if you haven't built a relationship with God, if you haven't built your relationship with your wife and your kids like you needed to, and you haven't uh, gone all in on your body like you needed to, then what will happen is one of those areas are going to break everything else. And so that's when I started. I've been relentless ever since, of working on myself ever since 2015, that January 2015, and working on myself and growing, and ultimately that's what helped me create the guerrilla method. So, um, what are you hearing there?
Yeah, man. What I'm hearing on that is what gives us that satisfaction after we achieve something is knowing the process and all the work that it took to get there. So if you just took a shortcut and if you just told yourself, "Hey, I want to make this much money," and then you flash forward to you being on the stage getting the award, like it wouldn't have felt as good, you getting that award, right? But you knew that the pivots you had to make, the adjustments, the sacrifices, all the things that you had to make to get to that point. And so, business wise, you were on top of the world. You were feeling great. But then you start to look at all the areas that you neglected, whether it be time with your wife, time with your boy, just all these other things that would have been in the other domains of your life. You saw where you weren't putting that same effort and that same focus like you were into the business, and that's what made once you got the money, you were just like, yeah, well, business is cool, but what about my faith? What about my family, all these other areas in your life? And so that's what's cool about the GA is we're continuing to look at our faith, our family, our finances, our fitness, all of these other things. And if one's moving forward and the other one's not, we're going to put a spotlight on that and be able to pinpoint that. And so, that what the GA is awesome about and what it provides is it's never going to let one domain completely dominate another one to the point of you having those sufferings in those other areas. And so, I think is the big piece that I heard you talk about with that was just the process of it gave you the joy, but then, lacking in all those other areas is what led to, hurting some confidence in yourself and then seeing that, hey man, there's clearly some pivots that I need to make in some other areas of my life.
Yeah, and and looking back, like now, it's understanding that, like, putting hard work in is not the problem. Having, being consistent and having the capabilities and having willpower, those are not the problem. The problem is the majority of men will put in hard work in 1 or 2 areas, and they'll call that discipline, and they'll think that they are disciplined in this. And then that's what happened is like they'll go home, and their wife may gripe at them about something and be like, well, but look how much money I brought home, or look at all the things we have, or whatever it may be. And when you start to understand that you not having a and this is not something you can do on your own. You could try to do it on your own, but it's having the structure to be able to strategically make investments in each area. But that's done on a daily basis. But then the other side of that is, and this is what most guys have an issue with, is like being brutally honest with themselves about where their results are right now, of what they're not liking about themselves, and they know, like, you have conviction of when you do something and you feel guilt, shame, doubt, worry. That's a sign that you of a version of yourself that you need to kill. And ultimately, we don't have that structure and that clarity and that guidance, that support of someone who's been through it, that can help you identify, like, these are the facts of your current situation, but then also to put a focus on what it is that you're wanting to become, the man that God created you to be. What's that guy look like? How's he act? What's he wear? What's he do on a daily basis? What's his relationship with his wife look like? What's his relationship with his kids look like? What's his relationship with God look like? And now we start to get a clarity on, yeah, having a daily game that we play, that we're making those investments, but then also putting a gameplay together and a structure together that says, okay, these are the facts. This is the freedom that I'm trying to create. And then here's what needs to be done this month. Here's what needs to be done this week to get me there. And that's what a majority of men are missing is like they'll start doing these little simple things of just like, oh, I'm going to start doing this and this and this. And then next thing you know, what's new becomes normal, what's normal becomes numb. The next thing they know is they're headed right down the same path, and they've almost forgot. Just woke up one day and maybe it's not feeling very well that day, and then giving yourself a pass, and then the next thing you know, you're making decisions that aren't aligned with what you want again. So, that's what keeps us dialed in. Is like last week, a couple weeks ago, well, last week we ran that half marathon. It was like that's why I was shared on my story the other day. It was like, I didn't just wake up and go like, "Hey, you think I might go run a half marathon?" It was like, "No, this is the version of me that I'm trying to become, and I know that that version, that guy has to be able to run, and he needs to be able to be able to do these things." And so if that's piece of it, then like, okay, this next piece I need to start building up. And if I was able to hit a half marathon and running, that would tell me that I'm on the right direction and I'm on the right path, and start heading in that direction that I want to go, and that I know that I'm feeling called to go to.
Yeah. And man, you stopped, and with that, you stopped leaning on your own understanding. So you hired a coach, you hired somebody to point you in the right direction. And um man, I was in this morning, I was in Second Corinthians 12, verse 9, and um it was talking about how God's power shows the most in our weaknesses. And I think a lot of guys, what they do whenever they're, failing in life, they want to deflect, or they want to keep everything internally into their head, and they don't confess it. And with the brotherhood that we have at the Grill Alliance, like, you can't hide. Like, your results are going to show through your numbers, the way that you're playing the game, and it's going to show if you're playing the game or if you're not. And so whenever I got in that verse this morning, like, man, there's been some areas in my spiritual life and just my connection with God, where at one point I was thriving, I was on fire. And not that I'm not getting in the word, but I talked about it in our small group table. There's other things, getting in the word became kind of normal to me. And then after a while, like, it started just become numb. It was just something I was doing, but I wasn't in it the way that I was before. So there was a pivot that I needed to make. Like, man, first thing I get up in the morning, I need to just sit down. My phone needs to be in another room. And I need to get back to the way that I was doing things in the past. And whenever that scripture hit me this morning, like, I just confessed out loud, like, God, like, showing him and confessing my weaknesses where I was weak and asking God to help me out. And man, he showed me his power. And like, it, I came into the day with a little bit different motivation, a little bit different confidence in myself and confidence in the Lord, and starting to get that back, man. But it becomes with that, not leaning on my own understanding, and then just being able to confess it. And that's what we have, with our brotherhood and the Grill Alliances. Obviously, if your points and your numbers are showing you're not playing the game, like, hey, we got to talk and we got to confess and talk about what we're doing. And so just being able to have those brothers, and not only that, getting in the Bible and being able to gain some clarity from God as well. Just to help you get out of that pit, that a lot of guys, when they're in that pit, man, they're in it alone. And then they just continue to dig a bigger and bigger pit, tell themselves more and more lies, lose more and more confidence. But what we're able to do is, when we recognize that we're in that pit, we can nip it in the butt. We can build each other up, and allow us to get out of it.
I think it might be Second Corinthians. It was like, my power works better with your weakness.
That's it. Yeah. Second Corinthians 12, verse 9.
That's one you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
My power works best with your, when
Yeah.
you're the weakest, or you're the weakness
Yeah.
that way. So
And it put a spotlight in that moment on the areas that I was being weak, man. And once I confessed and got it off my chest and spoke it out loud to the world, out loud to the Lord, it was a game changer for me.
So that's the, if this hits you today and you realize that like you do well in one or two areas, but it's something that you know that you're feeling called to level up, to get better across the board in every area of life, to be a four-dimensional man, not a one-dimensional man or a two-dimensional man, and understand that like this table that we have right now, if this table that has four legs, if this table had three legs, then the table wouldn't work. If the table had two legs, then it wouldn't work. Same thing with just one leg, it wouldn't work. It has to have all four legs to stand up upon. And so there's not it's not a mistake that, that we are sitting where we are right now, that God has given us dominion over every area of our life. And so what I would ask you to do is this hit you right now is, share this podcast with another man. Also, just if it's something that, um, just start a conversation. If it's something that you're more interested in the guerrilla method, what I do right now is take guys through a 6-month journey of working with me one-on-one where I can start to guide them and point them in the right direction. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is um, get you to a place to where you are ready to invest in your impossible games, and those impossible games being what we talked about earlier. Here's the facts about where I am, and here's the impossible version of me that I see that's at the top of the peak. And that's not in just one area, that's across the board in all areas. And start showing you that path of what we call the guerrilla method, and guiding you from there. And if that's something that you're interested in, you can shoot me a message on Instagram at seth.p.humphrey with Gorilla. And you do the same thing with Facebook, Seth P. Humphrey on Facebook. And I love just jump on a call with you and learn a little bit more about where you are, where you want to go, and the obstacles that are in your way. And then we can decide whether we make a good fit or not. If we do, then we can go from there. If not, then no harm, no foul. Also, every Tuesday at 6:15 p.m. Central Time, we do the Relentless Faith Bible Experience. This is free for guys to come in. And what Christian was talking about a while ago is getting in the Word. But when he was talking about getting in Second Corinthians, he's talking about getting in the, notice that he had one verse, but getting in the Word and then being convicted of something that you read and taking some type of action on it. And that's what Christian did today. Was he got in the Word, he saw what he read, it, he studied it, and then he immediately was able to see like, okay, what do I feel convicted of here? Same thing with me yesterday. I get in and it's one of those where I'm in Matthew, and it's like Jesus talking about the field has plenty. Like there's plenty of individuals that go out and to grab and bring in to Jesus and show him and point them to Jesus. And immediately I felt convicted of like, you know what, I do a good job like of having Bible studies inside of the gym, having a Bible study online and things like that. But how many individuals am I actually inviting? How many am I reaching out to and saying, hey, jump on this with me and come join me, or whatever it may be? And for whatever reason, that just one of my weaknesses is like, I'm going to go and get it done. Like, regardless if you show up or not, I'm just going to go and get it done with or without you. And it's something I got to get better at. And that's ultimately what we want to teach you with the Bible stack. Is it's super powerful to be able to get in the Word, find some wisdom from it to put in work in your life, and to gain wealth. And when I mean wealth, I mean results across the board because of you felt convicted and you took action on it. And so that's what we're offering you. You have anything you want to add in there?
Oh man, that's it.
So if you want to reach out to us and you want to give your handle.
Yeah, you can find me all things fitness and nutrition on Instagram at boo_train6.
Like I said, you can find me at seth.p.humphrey on Instagram, Facebook. And if it's something you're interested in the guerrilla method, shoot me a message with Gorilla and I will point you in the right direction. If this hits you, then share it with someone because they don't be selfish, man. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the other side.
This is a relentless game, turning less chaos into power. This is a relentless game. I've been out grinding 10,000 hours. This is a relentless game. Always put my faith inside.